Hello and welcome back to another video. So as you can see, we have all of the cars, the whole fleet here in the backyard. That is because in this video we need to be doing some work to each and every one of them, well, except for the Ford. For now, this is one giant paperweight until we figure out what's next for it. But yeah, let's start over here with the Datsun Go. So in the previous video I mentioned that there's something up with the steering in the Datsun Go, so the dangerous daily as we know it. It's not the wheel bearing, and that's what I've been spending the last 2 days figuring out. So it ended up being the steering rack ends that were done, so they are in here just to show you. So yeah, there's the one and the other one, so they are pretty done for. Had a little play in them, so I wanted to get them replaced. I'll tell you what, it wasn't easy finding these rack ends. I went to 5 places, and at the end of the day I had to go to the dealership, so the Nissan dealership, Nissan, Datsun, same thing. Ended up picking them up this morning, and then I already went ahead and got them onto the steering rack. So now that's ready to go back into the Datsun. Hopefully that sorts out the issue, because the ride wasn't very nice lately in this thing. It did become worse and worse with time. But anyway, moving on to this side, we have the W204. While the Datsun is down, I've been using this to run around, gather all the parts and so on, and it also needed to be serviced. So yesterday I had to drop something off at Andre's workshop, and he said I might as well just go ahead and get the service done over there. So he uses a fuel pump, and then you go in through the dipstick and then you pump out all the oil. Then you don't even have to go under the car, so that makes it much easier. So I got the new oil in there, got the oil filter replaced, and yeah, 15 minutes later we were done with the oil service. Now there is still some more other gremlin with this thing. It does put itself into limp mode every now and then, but yesterday we just reset everything. I know that's not the right way to do it. We need to find that fault, but anyway, got it out of limp mode, or just reset the parameters. And for what it is, it's a pretty fast car in my opinion. And with the stage 1 mapping done by Lance from Torque Tuning, it does roll some coal. Still looking for that little bumper cover. We lost that one, but Mercedes charges like $500 for that thing. I'm not willing to pay that much for such a small piece of plastic, but yeah. So also got some oil and oil filter for the Datsun, so while I'm busy down there I'll just get that done, give it a quick oil service. Then over here we have the legend Racer Benz itself. Yeah, there's video coming on that hopefully pretty soon, but on this we just have a small job. Let me just open up the hood. Oh snap, before I forget, yeah, so it's back on the ground with the cut coils, and damn, that looks so much better, because it was way too high up in the front. So this looks way better. It's pretty low now, but yeah, happy I did that. But what I want to get into in this video is get that alternator wire replaced finally. I've been putting that off for way too long, so just need to get this wire from the starter all the way around. Not sure how I'm going to route it yet, but that needs to go to the alternator, and then yeah, this thing is ready to go. And then over here on the new W203 project, I do want to get some more things back onto the car. So I finally finished up all the brakes. So the other night I spent a good amount of time putting everything back together, and I'm so happy with how these came out. With the brakes being done, we finally have the end in sight with the suspension work. So I have everything except for 2 new front shocks for the car to finish up the entire suspension. I also went ahead and already painted the side shafts and the diff and then the front wheel hub, so that's ready to go in the car. Really excited to start getting all the parts on the car and check out how that suspension came out. I think I'm gonna get started with the riser Benz. So replace the positive battery terminal, should be pretty quick and easy. Get that cable onto the alternator from the starter and then be done with that, and then we'll move on to, I think, the suspension of the new project. Get the diff and everything like that back in there. I do want to give all the bolts and nuts some Loctite just to make sure everything stays where they need to be, and then once we have some shade over by the Datsun, we'll get started getting that steering rack back in there, do the oil change on it, and yeah, take things from there. So I guess let's get to work. Had that wrong. I won't be needing to change the positive terminal on the battery because I'm going to go from the starter to the alternator. So I'm just going to add this wire in here. Right, so that should be good. It's away from everything, so let's start it up. It's been a while. Let's see. Okay. Stay tuned. Right, so finally, after taking way too long with this, it's been about 3 weeks working on the suspension on the car, but the rear end is finally in there and everything is connected and it looks super good. As you saw last night, I got started on this side and it took me a while to figure everything out, so I cheated a bit and removed the wheel off of the riser Benz just to make sure I connect everything on there like it should be. Super happy with how things are looking. I know it takes some time, but it's all worth it in the end. I think it looks great. So anyway, now to move on to the Datsun, to finally sort out the steering rack. So like I said, waited a few days for the right parts to come in. And then if you look over here, something I didn't know and I just want to mention is, so when you remove the steering rack, you shouldn't move the steering around, because this little thing has wires inside. So you can see, you can turn it, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. So you just need to get the center point before putting everything back together, just to make sure that it isn't all the way to the left, and when you want to turn left, then rips out the wires. So that's just pretty interesting to me. Luckily I have a mechanic friend that helped me out to tell me that, otherwise I would have messed up. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward job to get the steering rack back in there. It's not a fun job, but I mean, it's doable. So let's get the steering rack back in there and then see if this thing drives any better. What? 4 hours later and it's in. Okay, so that was much harder than taking it out. So we had to loosen up the subframe and a couple of other things like the exhaust. Curious to see how it sounds. Let's start it up. This is weird. All jokes aside, this doesn't sound good without the exhaust. But anyway, I actually had to call in some help to get that steering rack back in there. Couldn't do it on my own. It's in there, ready. We did the wheel alignment this morning. So this car is driving a million times better than before. And then over on the new project car, like you guys saw, got finished with the rear suspension. Everything there is ready to receive some wheels and get back on the ground. And then over on the front suspension, the brakes, disc, everything is ready. Even the coils, I finally got around to get all of the control arms. So those are the old arms. I cleaned them up and then got new bushings in there. And then this one is the old arm I just cleaned up. It needed a bushing, but that arm needed to be replaced because that ball joint over there was not going to work. So that's a new arm. So over there have everything except for those two front shocks, because these seems to have a tear in over there. So I just want to make sure if we can reuse these, or do we need to get some new top shock mounts for it. And then we have everything to get the front suspension back in. And now to get to the fun part. So as you can see, we have the engine over here to finally start getting that into the car. I've had this engine over here for about 4 weeks now, and yeah, finally getting around to getting that in the car. So in next week's video, we're going to be building some engine mounts, a gearbox mount, and then really start getting into the fun stuff. With the Datsun Go and the 204 up to date on their services, we can finally take the time and really start getting into the new project. Can't wait to see that engine in the car. But for now, that's going to be it for this video. Like always, thank you guys for watching, and then I'll see you in the next one.